2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Across the Pond. Me and Richard are smiling because we just had a fun power outage, at least on my end. So, it's the cool part about rolling with the flow, right, Richard? As we're starting our seventh Conversations Across the Pond, and we chuckle because it's just the way life is, and it's working with things and learning to go with things in life, and as we chuckle, sometimes we have we can be so hard pressed, right, to have something work out for us, or we have a plan or expectations, but really we go with what life gives us, don't we, Richard? What a
Yeah.
great representation of that. And welcome and good afternoon to you. Good morning to us here, United States. I'm excited to have you on again and us together having these conversations that I just threw this topic at you this morning, in fact, just an hour ago. And Richard's gracious enough to he loves to just play in this game, don't you, Richard?
Oh yeah. And yeah, it was interesting because unfortunately we won't show the other recording, but it was actually going into good flow. But anyway, yeah. Hi everyone, and thanks Steve always for your beautiful welcome. What we're going to talk about, in case we get power supply cutting again, is is who's in my tribe. And Steve and I were just talking about this in our first video. It links to the previous video that we did before. And what we're trying to share with you here is something about who really is in my tribe. Who do I really want to be? And we've just come off another call just an hour before with two great guys that we know. We've been having conversations for a good 6 months or more. And it's been really revolutionary, I would say, because we've actually explored something different today, in that the sharing of being in a tribe, in a group, in a conversation with people, and sharing things, you can say intimately, of things that have been going on privately. But the fact was, there was a source of, I would say, appreciation, acknowledgement, and inclusion of being of support, as well as being a bouncing board for ideas. And, this is a great topic that Steve's just wanted to throw me now about who's in my tribe. And what we were talking about there, everyone, was about, you have all these holiday seasons in America, and we do here in Europe, and sometimes I don't like the idea of, oh, who am I going to buy? What am I going to buy for my aunt and uncle? I remember when I was young that, oh, my aunties and uncles are coming for Christmas. Oof, that'll be sat in the corner and stuff like that, just kind of fiddling my thumbs or playing with my toys at the time. But, you know, we start to create, who do we really want? And that relates to us in our relationships, in our friends, in our work colleagues, and our sports friends, etc. So it crosses all boundaries. But what Steve wants to highlight today is who's in my tribe, and especially on that beautiful text that's behind his shoulder there. You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Yeah. So I want
Mhm.
Steve to kind of explain where that's come from and what's behind that, what he's seeing behind it, because I think it'll
Mhm.
be interesting for you to hear as the listeners about what he's saying.
Thank you, Richard. And why this came up too, as it's really a great extension. If you haven't listened to episode 6 on being an influential leader versus institutional leader, we talk about a lot about this idea of being in relational space, right? Whether it's in our work, our professions, or in the home front, and versus being in a transactional space where we're about the tasks, the errands, the to-dos, like with the holiday shopping coming up, the food, the gifts, and we make it a lot of times about the heaviness of what we need to do instead of who we get to be with. And so this came up for me, and it was really divine intervention because my wife came home this morning also, Richard, and she goes, my my gym, my fitness coach came and said, you are the average of the 5 people we hang out with. And I go, how in the world do you know I was going to say that today in my talk with Richard? And I go, it was just meant to be. And I go, wow, isn't that so true? And this idea here came from great motivational speaker Jim Rohn. If you heard of him, he's just kind of he's like what became before like Tony Robbins and a lot of other people that we know today. This idea of the average of people we hang out with. Me and Richard just got a chance to hang out with two amazing other men in our what we call our mastermind group to grow, to mature, to get better, to share. And the average, the reason why I'm throwing that out is with the holiday seasons here and the people that we're with, we wanted to be able to discuss what does that look like to invite and to welcome people into our space versus try to hold back, resist, want to tiptoe around people, wanted to just get through the holidays. And instead, it could be a really special, honoring time for us. But this average, the people we hang out with, I'm either becoming better or worse. Think about either growing or dying. But my finances, my relationships, my business, my health, become like the average of the five people I hang out with. A good book that I was reading, a classic, right? Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill hung out with the great, great minds of the past like Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford and Thomas Edison and the likes. And he talks about what's the things they had in common is oftentimes the wealthy or the people that had great innovation would be together, hang out together, learn from each other. Or there's a special on Netflix called the Blue Zones, or how people live up to 100. People that on longevity, you see tribes that hang out together in Greece. I think it's Ikari, Greece, and places like Okinawa, and places like even Loma Linda in California. And you're seeing, wow, people that they're living longer, or they're wanting to be wealthy, or there's relational tribe. So we're thinking in this idea where it's like, how do I look at the people that I'm with currently in my life, right, Richard? The people in my life. And in some ways, it's a good detector. It's like, do I become more filled, more encouraged? Do I come away going, I'm glad to have spent time with that person, or do I come away drained, exhausted, more negative? In the coaching world, we'd call it more victim as a result of coming away from my interactions, whether it's virtual or in person. And we're going to play with that a little bit today because that's so relevant, I think, for where we're at and how a lot of us in the holiday season tend to gravitate towards the transactional space as well. And we forget about really pouring gratitude into the people that really elevate us.
Yeah, and I think when you elevate us, it means not only the person that's sitting opposite you, you're actually elevating yourself. The inspiration that you have, like you said, with your wife, that inspiration of what she shared to you, that is lifting you up. And it's all around you, everyone. It's always there. It's just the fact we get our blinkers on, we just see life in a certain way. But actually, if you actually started just to see it from a different perspective, and this is what Steve's trying to point you to, just noticing that little word, that little sentence, or that little touch or movement is signifying something to you, is making you kind of say, hey, do you see something here? And that's that uplift that we get. I get the uplift from Steve, and I know he gets it from me, but others are getting it. The feedback that we get from people listening to these recordings, it's uplifting us because we don't know where these recordings are going, who's listening to them, who's sharing them out there. But we appreciate you and acknowledge you for doing that because you find something that's rewarding not only for yourself, but you're thinking of others as well. And that's linked to your tribe. Your tribe could be in any shape or form, from being a little boy and girl at school all the way through to education, through a university, through the sports clubs that you're involved in, the church that you go to, Steve. They're all different areas where you can get that tribe, creating that average of uplifting you, of allowing you to grow. And that's the beauty of this topic that you've just shared with us today. It's great.
Well, thank you, Richard. And this can be, for some of us, like you and I, we can look at that and go, awesome. Let me continue to put those people around me in my life and edify that. And some of you listening to this might be going, oh man, No wonder I think this way or act this way. Or the people in my life, some of you might watch this episode and go, I need to make some changes, right? We'll have some things that we'll talk about in a minute to start to elevate those in our life. But there's a reason why the book Boundaries was written from from Henry Cloud and John Townsend, a good mentor of mine, and is because there's also the people in our life that we don't want to become like the average, like, right? So part of today could also, as you're looking at this, you go, oh wow, I do start to act like that. I do start to treat others like that. I do start to maybe wallow in things in my life, and things, and think about the average people could be, I'm hanging out with the news, I'm hanging out with social media, I'm hanging out with people, at the bar after work and want to gripe about work, right? So when I think about average people, could also be where I'm putting my attention to, where I'm putting my weight in, right? The people that maybe I don't have an intimate relationship with in the sense of like friendship, but it's also what we're putting our attention to, right, Richard? And so, what do you think?
Mm.
Think about this on that end is why do you think people hang out with people or places that really aren't edifying them, that really aren't building them up, aren't giving them something of real value or adding to their emotional bank account?
Yeah, I'm just looking out of the window there, and what I got from that was when you were sharing that was the filters.
Mm.
We have the filters or the beliefs, whatever words you wish to put it on. But the fact is, you kind of got into a routine. And I remember when I was growing up and then working, yeah, the routine was on a Friday, you're going to have a few beers after work. That didn't feel comfortable for me. But I went with the norm, I went with the social aspect, but it wasn't for me. Same for the football, same for the rugby. Afterward, all the drinks and stuff. Yeah, great at the time, but I realized that wasn't really for me. That really wasn't me expressing who I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I had to speak up. I had to speak up and speak straight. It's nice to go out and have a drink, but I really don't have to. I can choose if I want to have a drink or not.
Mm.
Like you have a choice with your friends and your colleagues. You can work with them, you can be polite, but there's also, well, I'd like to be going home to see my partner, my wife, because I want to. I just because I don't want to go with you guys, I want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I've committed to something. And that commitment is also, I think, there's many values that are picking up for people here, maybe listening. Commitment is one of the big ones. It really, you're committed. You're going to do your fitness, you commit to it. You're going to go out with your friends, you commit. You say you be your word. Being your word is such a valuable lesson for us all.
Mm-hmm.
How often we say we be our word and we don't respect it.
Yeah.
So you're not respecting yourself. For me, when you say something, and if
Yeah.
you're not meaning it and not going with that, that really affects every type of relationship that you are in. And the main one is the relationship with yourself.
That's it. I think, and as you're saying that, thank you, Richard. You really segued it as I turned my body here so you could see it, you could see the words awareness, right? And this isn't in any particular order, but if we were looking at like how do we elevate, pour into, and it starts with us. We talked this morning, all right, in our mastermind group, this internal introspective work. Some of us journal, some of us, whether it's on apps or written down or whether we're in discussion, our introspective work is like you said, is like, does this serve me? Does the people I hang out with, is there value added there? Me to them to me? Is it really giving something that is making me a better person? Am I helping make them a better person as a result of us being together, hanging out with each other, being in each other's space? So the awareness is that piece where I'm doing the internal work of just sitting. Sometimes we talk about morning intentions, right? When we wake up, me and Richard, we had this routines when we wake up and we go, you know, What is it that I want today? What is it? Who is it that I'm going to maybe serve today? And oftentimes, though, also it's, or who am I going to be with today? And is this going to be something that is honoring and serving and adding value to both me and them? So when you're looking at it from a, whether it's doing the, taking a step back and in awareness, that then turns into maybe the action piece of like, hey, this person I'm hanging out with, it's either we're getting closer and we're growing in our relationship, or we're getting worse and things are just starting to fester and we start to bicker more, right? Which is
Mm.
where a lot of us turn into that, and we, because we don't do the work of awareness, do we, Richard?
No, and I think, you know, it's quite easy for us to take for granted of that because it's not visible. Awareness, what is it? What does it really mean? What, can we hold it? Can we put it in a wheelbarrow? Can we carry it around with us? Well, you are carrying it around with you, but it's that light, that intuition, that gut feeling, listening to yourself, not in not the listening of crazy listening, but listening and just, yeah, is that really something I want right now? Do I really want to go and have a drink right now? Or do I really want to go to this big restaurant right now? You know, you have that choice. And it's not about, oh, it's going to be more healthier for me. No, then you're justifying it. It's not. It's just letting yourself off the hook and just saying, well, I really don't want to drink anymore. Or this relationship is not really what I want because I'm seeing things differently. And I've got to speak up about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to share about it. And it's also about in your work, also how you collaborate with your boss, your colleagues, how you listen generously, but also how you're speaking straight.
Mm.
It's important in any organization. You can be in any type of organization. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
process. You've got to speak
Absolutely.
up.
That's huge. And when I love what you're saying there too, Richard, is this could be at work or at home. Well, it doesn't have to, as you're listening to this, you go that you might channel this and whatever is kind of hitting you the most in your heart, right? But I love what you said is, what do I want? Being generous to ourselves, because it really, this awareness tees us up for the other two.
Yeah.
We'll break down the firm and ask, but this first one really is that, what do I want when I wake up? What do I want in this relationship, work wise, home wise, in the community? And that's a big place to start from. If you got nothing else but that in this, from this conversation today, it's really looking at and going, who is it that I hang out with, and what's the results of that in my life, and how is that impacting me and them? Because when I take that time to slow down and go, do I really want to go out and have that drink with the guys, or do I want to go out and pour into other relationships? And but it starts by pausing, like you said, slowing down to listen to ourselves, to be able to see, like, what is it that I really need or want in my life? Because then we can shift gears into, what is it that I can do to call into the light, call into this relational space, others that I do value. They value me. We value us and what's being created in our relationship. And that's the parts then where if we were to look at affirming, right, with the holidays
Mm.
coming up, with gatherings coming up, how can we look at, I call it elevating our relationships, right? Really,
Yeah.
like it's where the word launch, or some of you are launching new relationships, but elevating, igniting. How can we ignite and inspire and acknowledge people around us for the value that they hold in our life?
Yeah.
What's some
And when
what's
you
some
said
things
that,
that you would say, Richard, that would be, what's a way that somebody could share honor and value to their tribe, to somebody that
well,
they go, they really
I
elevate
think,
me?
yeah, I think again, there, Steve, there is the fact you got to start with yourself.
Hmm.
You got to invite yourself. You really have to look at yourself and say, and it's okay, We make mistakes. We get things wrong. There's no point beating ourselves up on that relationship
I
or with
love
the
that.
group. Yeah.
I'm going to
There's
add
no
that.
there's no
Right.
shame. There's no shame in it.
Yeah.
We're always there. We're always going to learn of how best to communicate, how best to invite ourselves into that group.
Hmm.
And the fact is that it does ignite. What it ignites is that passion of you.
Hmm.
It starts with you and it ends with you. For me, that's how I see it. I could sit here and just not bother, but other
Hmm.
times I like to go and ignite. I like to go out. I like to just see people walking around and talking and sharing, and I do the same. But I'm okay with it if I just stay here and walk around on my own in the nature instead of going into a town.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it. If you're not okay with it, then you've got to look at yourself and to say, what does ignite me? What gets me out of bed? What is it that I really want right now? And sometimes I'll go, yeah, I just want to stay here. So I stay here. Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to do my fitness. I go and do my run. I go and do my workout. There are things that can ignite you in so many ways.
You just said it right there.
Yeah.
Who am I being? People often go, being, what does that mean? What does that look like? You just modeled who am I being? Because if I'm pouring into myself, then the others around me will be the right tribe. If
Yeah.
if I'm being me, I'm loving who I am created to be in this world, and I'm nurturing that, then I'm also attracting those pieces too, right?
Exactly.
I'm
Exactly.
igniting and inviting by default almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the magnet. You're just the magnet. You're
Mm-hmm.
creating that. You're asking intentionally. You're asking. And that's important to understand, everyone. It's not like going, oh, I've got to. No, it's really saying, what is it that I want right now? I wanted to create a relationship with Steve and his family and create something with Steve. It took us a while, but that relationship now has created these conversations across the
There you
pond.
go. I love that too. And the leadership part of that I love is because leadership is influence, right? It's not
Yeah.
title, it's not degree, it's not education, it's not position. Influence, who we're being. We're doing our introspective work, we're being aware of who we are, listening to ourselves, affirming who we are, asking and inviting ourselves into that space. Now, right? What do we want? And how can we step into, for those listening to this call are going to be like, what can I do next, Steve and Richard? That sounds great. Well, then the next part then would be, how can I go out and affirm those that are part of the average of the five people, could be more, could be less, but the people that really, I come away and I feel better. I come away and I go, wow, I want to spend more time with them. How can I go out and really affirm them today? What's something I could do to, whether it's a text, it's a card, it's a way to acknowledge their value, their weightiness in our life. What's maybe a thought behind that, Richard, that you go, what's something that somebody could do and you go, okay, I know what I want. How do I now go and kind of before, go out to that person and really share with them what they mean to me, how
Well, I
important they are to me.
I just had a challenge. I'm doing a little workshop, and I had a challenge. The challenge was to go out and get five people to have a conversation with. And I was thinking, who could I ask? And all these thoughts were playing around with me. What they're gonna think, what they're gonna say, what would they think about me? And I was like, Richard, what are you creating here? You're creating the obstacle. You're creating that ring of fear of what people are gonna think. Just go out there and have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I sent the message, or I tried to phone them. I sent a message. I've got 10 people wanting now to have a conversation with me because I did that challenge. I did that challenge for me because it was just there. I just put the obstacles in the way, folks. And that's what we do. We put obstacles in the way.
Tip.
and just kind of saying, well, that's not really an obstacle. It's just me. Is it real? No, it's just me making it up. So hey, let's just play and have fun with it. You can do it at any time. You can do
Yeah.
it anywhere. My children always laugh at me because I'll go to anyone and just talk to them. And they'll go, how do you do that, Dad? I said, well, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to just interact with someone. And if they say, sorry, no, I don't want to have a talk with you, that's great. That's fine. I'm not asking for anything. Just sitting there, having a conversation, noticing things, and then you see where it takes you because that's
Mm,
what ignites you in your conversation. How
that's
did
it.
you meet your friends at school? How
There you
did you
go.
meet your partner, man, woman? How did you approached by just getting curious? The
That's the biggest
curiosity.
piece. You're absolutely right, right?
Yeah.
And going back, I forget which episode we talked about curiosity is a big part of this, right? And like you're sharing right there, kind of, I love how you're bringing it in the practical because it could be as simple as like you and I relationship, me and you, right? Where it's like awareness of like, what is it I want? I want a deeper relationship with Richard. I really enjoy our conversations. I want to affirm and go, wow, Richard, you really add value to my life. I love you're part of my tribe. And then the next part then is in asking. I love when my mother-in-law says, you don't get what you don't ask. And I go, huh? You don't get what you don't ask for. And I go, oh, ain't that the truth? So then I'm asking like, hey, can we hang out more? Can we talk more? Can we have virtual coffee together? Right? Because you're in Brussels and I'm here in Florida. Right. And it's like, we can do that, but it's a real call to intentionality, isn't it? A real call to intentionality. This doesn't just happen by default. In fact, the average people we hang out with by default would be the people that probably drain us. But the
Yeah.
ones that really edify and build up our bank account, our emotional, relational bank account, is exactly what you said, Richard. And it's stepping into that place with those in our life that elevate. And think about that as we're going into the holiday season. We're finishing work deadlines, stepping into family, the relationships around us, or maybe old relationships or relationships we haven't really put many deposits into for quite some time. And how can we enter into that, into a space of, I'm going to be more intentional this year to really call into my life those that really add value, starting with myself. And what do I value about me? And then the people around me that I really want to spend time building through curiosity, through really developing and nourishing those friendships, those relationships, whether they're doing awesome and you want to continue them to be awesome, or whether they're really struggled, they're really, they became apathetic. And how do I call that back in to a place of a healthier balance with them?
Yeah, I think Steve, when you said about the holiday, it's not actually for the holiday season, folks.
Mm,
It's actually your day to day.
that's it.
You finish the week off. It's Friday here. In what way can you make a difference to someone than you've not done before? Could you just do this one challenge of just doing something different that will make a difference for you, but for others? Like you said, you go to your church on the Sunday. The fact that you've actually got yourself intentionally there and you're wanting to create and be part of the community, you are creating something that's new for you. You're creating something that's igniting you. Apart from your spiritual content, there's also the friendships and the the community and the way it just kind of ripples.
Yeah.
That ripple effect creates it. And it's not just related to the holiday season, folk. What we're
Yeah.
just saying here, that holiday season is kind of heavy for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But where does the heaviness come from? All up here. Nothing
That's
more.
it. That's it. And as you say that too, as we're rounding the bags for our conversations across the pond today, I call rounding baseball in America. So rounding bags would be like, I don't know, cricket. No, what do they have in you?
Cricket, yeah,
There you go.
lacrosse, yeah.
Try to bring the
Hockey.
metaphor down, right? Um, as we're kind of rounding the pond, uh, being able to look at this and say, it's a real intentional way of showing up, isn't it? It's a real intentional way of depositing, like you said, not just holiday, although holidays kind of magnifies it because it's in front of us. So you can try to escape it, right? But it's right there in front of us. And sometimes it's a good place to elevate, to step into, to really be able to go into the season and really go, wow, this is something I can do on the daily. Where the holiday season gets me a chance to really see it in front of me and go, I'd like to, I'd like to start pouring more into developing these areas in my life, these friendships. But it's a real, like you and I say, it's, it's a real intention of waking up and saying, what's the seeds that I can start planting by acknowledging people, by inviting people, by doing my work also of saying, who's the people that really I come away from and I go, wow, I feel so much better. I feel like I can take on challenges and stressors, right? Anybody not have those in their life, right?
Oh,
Crisis,
exactly.
change, death, taxes. We can't escape those things, but yet all those things get way less weightier when we have our tribe. All those things get so much easier to step into. And when you're thinking about your tribe, oftentimes it's not going to be your bloodline. Oftentimes it's not family of origin. It's the people you're with. Like Richard is my brother. I consider you as close to me as anybody. And so as you're looking at this, also think of it's not just family in the nuclear sense. It's family who we choose to be with, who we choose to be in relationship with.
Mm. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's all, as you kind of highlighted there at the end, it's all relationship in any shape or form. It's a relationship. We're always in a relationship. And I go back to it again. We're in the relationship with ourselves. We're on our own journey. Not trying to be spiritual here, folks, but it's just we're on our path. We're learning stuff about us. I, Richard, I, Steve. We're learning about who we want to be in this world, being able to speak up, but listen and appreciate and acknowledge. We've been sharing all these words again with you. It's about that relationship that you're having with yourself. And if you feel stuck about it, if you do feel stuck, just go in the phone directory if you still have them there in America. I know we don't have them here, but you used to go down the list and you could just pick a name and then make a call. But you could just pick up a friend now and just
Mm-hmm.
give them a call and just see what's there because you don't know by having that conversation how it will change for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that way of just picking up and seeing what happens. That
That's it.
curiosity.
That's it. And as we look at that too, wrapping up today is comes back to also, and we'll have this in the show notes, our context, because that's something that people really, if you're struggling with this, if this is a place you go, man, where do I start? How do I take steps? Me and Richard are there for that as well, right? And so I know some of this can be, we're starting to plant seeds, but some of you might be at a place where it's like you want some guidance, and that's good. That's a healthy place to come from, and we'd love to, to support you in that. And think about this in a powerful way, and why it's so important as we talk about the holiday season, because so many of us want to tackle New Year's resolutions. January comes and I'm going to get fitter. My business is going to thrive. I'm going to do better. But really, it's who's my tribe. If I'm going to go after 2024 goals, none of that matters if I don't have my tribe dialed in. That's how critical this is to be able to work on your tribe. So I'm glad to be able to, have this conversation with you, Richard, and go, you are part of my tribe. I know we're going places together and we have already. And my relationship with my wife, my kids, my life here in Florida, you greatly enriched me. You are part of my life, brother. And what an honor to share with you today on this topic of who's in my tribe.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that, Steve. Your inspiration, I call him Mr. Fire because he's just always on fire with words of love and appreciation, folks. So take heed of that because when you have a conversation with Steve, he'll touch you in so many ways, but he'll touch you at the heart. So
Ah,
thank you, Steve. Thank you,
thank
everyone
you.
else for listening. We'll look forward to hearing you and hearing from you. And by all means, Steve will put the contact details out there. And we look forward to hearing from you again. Take care, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.